Now we're going to stay with the Minoans, but we're going to leave the main island of Crete. As their civilization flourishes, as their export and their trade network expands, they start to set up cities on various islands around the Aegean. Now, these islands are part of a larger geographical system of volcanoes in the area. I love talking about geology, and if you want to, we can talk more about it. But basically, the slip of the plates in this area caused a lot of volcanic eruptions that led to islands popping up in the middle of the Mediterranean. These islands are rocky, they are filled with volcanic ash and pumice stone, and so they don't make great for fields, but they make great for orchards, and these serve as nice touchstones for their seafaring trade. As they will travel around, they can stop off at one of their own Minoan cities on the islands. We're going to look at one of these islands. They called the island Thera, but it is now modern day Santorini. Did you hear that? Santorini. If you think of Santorini, it's now like quintessential Greek island. If you were to do a Google search and like an Airbnb it, this is what you get with Santorini. Oh my gosh, I know. It's this gorgeous high city looking over the Mediterranean. It's got the characteristic Greek whitewashed walls with blue cobalt domes, and it's just fantastic. The island looks like this. It has this C shape, and this massive space in the center is where a volcano erupted. So the volcano is the island, and it blew its center, and it lost the main part of the island. It was during this massive volcanic eruption that an ancient Minoan city was buried. We call the city Akrotiri. So here we are looking at the archaeological site. The structure that covers this right here, this roof you're looking at, that is put up to protect it from the elements. But what you see below, the rubble, that are the actual structures of the Minoan civilization in the city of Akrotiri on the island of Thera, aka Santorini. The city of Akrotiri was discovered under 5 yards of ash. It was completely buried and therefore completely preserved after this volcanic eruption. It is a perfectly preserved Minoan city. Now, what it has offered us is a lot of information, art. Unfortunately, we can't read that information until you decide to decode it. Here, look at this. But what it's left is a perfectly preserved Minoan city with roads and buildings. Here we are looking at a street and the front doors and the multiple levels of the houses. The houses typically were about 2 stories tall, some 3-story houses. And what remains of the structures are breathtaking. The interiors have preserved in them the paintings, those frescoes on the walls. Here we are looking at one of the rooms in one of the houses in Akrotiri, and what we see are these leaping monkeys. Look at them as they jump over these craggly rocks. Notice the motif of colors: blue, yellow, red. Yep. Here, these are some more. This is in another room. You see these elegant ibex and these boxers. These 2 young boys are boxing. They've got their boxing gloves on and they're punching each other in the face. Wow, am I right? Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, I already know about a city that got buried by a volcanic eruption and perfectly preserved it. It's the one with the bodies. No, that's later. That is a city, you're right, but it's not this one. We will look at it. It's an ancient Roman city. It hasn't even been built by this time. So, yes, but pause. It's going to come later. This one came first. What we don't have in the city are any dead bodies. Why? Because they got out in time. There must have been enough natural clues around to let them know that this volcano was going to blow, and everybody was able to get off the island with a lot of their valuables, but they couldn't take the walls. What are some of the signs of a volcanic eruption? Oftentimes, creeks will dry up because as the lava rises, it will evaporate the groundwater. Behavior of animals on the island too can give away if there's going to be an eruption. So they must have had enough clues because they are harmonious with nature, and they got out before the eruption. But the eruption did happen, and it completely buried the city that they left behind. Another room within Akrotiri. Isn't it beautiful? This one, I didn't give you the title. I don't know why, but it's called Spring Fresco. Fresco because it's made of fresco. But look at this. Look at this landscape. This is the rocks of the island. Remember, it's a giant volcano, so it's craggy and rough. And so they use the line to define the ups and downs of the island. And then here we have these beautiful lilies that are blooming, and there's birds flying in the air. Remember that when you look at an artwork, you're supposed to imagine all of your senses. So we would not only see the flowers rustling in the ocean wave or ocean breezes, but we would smell the lilies. We would hear the birds as they tweet. It would have been such an amazing sight to be surrounded by. Also, check out the color scheme. Red, yellow, blue, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow, blue. There's no doubt that this landscape is a Minoan landscape. This is a Minoan island. They use their national colors, red, yellow, blue, boom, boom, boom. The artwork I do want to call your attention to is this one here. This is the larger image, but let me give you the title of it first. Here it is. So the title of the image is called Young Girl Gathering Saffron Crocus Flowers. And it's located in this house Zesty, in Akrotiri in Thera. Okay? What we have is a young woman who is on that rocky landscape, and she's climbing it to pick up the delicate threads of a crocus flower. Now, I don't know why I don't have the detail of a real life crocus, so let me just pull it up here. These are crocus. Crocus or croci? Croci? Would we call it croci if they're plural? Croci are these distinctive purple flowers, and they are extremely significant because the filament, the thread of the inside or the interior of a crocus flower is the spice saffron. Here. Have you ever heard of saffron rice or cooked with saffron? Saffron are these red filaments of the crocus flower. They're used as a spice. There you go. They're used as a spice, and because the filaments are so delicate, it requires that you pick them by hand. So even today, they are picked by hand, and therefore, because it is a difficult and delicate spice to harvest, it's crazy expensive. a little vial of saffron is going to cost you a significant, in comparison to other spices, it's going to cost you significantly more. So this young woman here is picking the red, expensive saffron filaments that would be used for spices. She is part of a larger scene. We have another woman here who is also picking the flowers. Very similar landscape to what I showed you in the crocus, in the spring fresco. And here, there's another view of them. What I love about these two women is that we can interpret, oh, look at, she's got a basket there to collect the saffron. We can interpret this image in so many different ways. First, we can see this as two young women who are harvesting that very delicate spice. Okay. A second interpretation, the saffron filament is also used to alleviate menstrual cramping. What, Miss Cortez? For some of the guys in the room, you're like, what? Menstrual cramping? What are you talking about? When a woman gets her period and she has cramps, saffron is supposed to be a very helpful spice for relieving that pain. So then the second interpretation isn't that this is a spice, but that these are two women who are harvesting the saffron for menstrual pain. And then that brings into mind when a woman gets her period, probably, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking on it. Puberty and initiation rites. Maybe this is some kind of, not initiation, but some kind of a ritual for when a young woman becomes or when a girl becomes a young woman. In fact, the similarities and differences between these two figures hint at one being older than the other. This woman here, her hair is full and thick and this luscious black curls. The younger woman has the distinctive shaved head with a ponytail. What? Yeah, it was not uncommon for young children to have their heads shaved. Those little boxers I showed you before, they also have their heads shaved. So she is a younger woman, and she's gathering these perhaps because I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. Britney Spears. Okay, I know. The third reason I love this fresco is because of the fashion. We have so much information about their fashion from these frescoes. What we see over and over again, repeatedly, is that women wore these tight vests that were open at the front and often bare-breasted. So their vests would come down and expose their breasts. And then it would be tied around their waist or cinched to their waist with some kind of a tight belt. And then they wore these colorful layered skirts. Another word for layers of fabric is flounced, F-L-O-U-N-C-E-D. So a flounced skirt. What's really interesting about this image is that we're unsure if the younger woman is wearing a skirt or pants. A woman wearing pants before the 20th century? That's a big deal. If she's wearing pants, then these might be like two wide-legged pants that are layered. We're not quite sure, but she's got this little bracelet here, or a tassel here on the layer of her skirt. She's got these gorgeous bells hanging from her bodice, and she's got this little bracelet here. See, she's collecting the saffron. It's pretty cool, right? Yeah. The images of women on Minoan art, like I said, are consistent. Here are some more. See what I mean about a bare-breasted woman? And they will usually have their hair pulled back but long in these thick black curls. There's also evidence that they wore makeup very similar to the Egyptians. This heavy lined eye and eyebrow and lip. So beautiful. Oh, look at that. Look at we can understand the use of pattern in their textiles because it's been preserved in the paintings. She's got this coral bead necklace dangling. Her fingernails, are they painted? Ah, it's shockingly modern, isn't it? Here's another one. So there's a lot going on that we are making assumptions of with the young girl gathering of Saffron.